Hi, welcome back to the workshop for episode 34 of the Rickenbacker 620 12-string build. And in this episode, we're going to finish off the neck carve by getting those transitions sorted out. Okay, so time to crack on with the rest of this neck carve now. And I'm going to start with the heel end because there is a little bit of doubt in my mind as to what I'm going to go with, because I've been doing a little bit of research on what these heels look like on the Rickenbacker 620, and there's a lot of variability. Some of them have this kind of long extended heel area and others don't. They have a much closer transition into the body. Now on the drawing we've got the longer transition, and that is about, it's 51 mil, so it's 2 inches basically, which is what I've kind of left here. However, I don't think I'm going to go with that. I think that's going to look a little bit goofy and a little bit clunky. So I'm going to bring mine much nearer the body. And once again, the first step in that is to introduce the centre line on the back of this body. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just very roughly set this compass up. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger than that. Basically just give me the arc that I want. I want it to be quite shallow. I don't want it to be too kind of rounded. I think that will do me. Okay, and with that marked out, what I would like to do is kind of cut a lot of this waste away just with a saw to save some of the chiseling. However, with this body shape, I'm not going to risk kind of damaging this horn by doing that. So it's going to be a case of out with the spoon gouge and a few other chisels probably, and we'll just start kind of working this material away. I mean, in the first instance, it's not going to be too bad because we're not kind of at any risk of damaging this. As you can see here, I've cut all this grain, so any work I do here isn't going to have any effect on anything down here. It's just that old thing of making a stop cut and removing the waste, as I'm sure you've heard me say before. So it's just a case really of whittling this down until we get it somewhere near, and then we can put this heel transition shape in, make it all nice and lovely, and from there we can work down the rest of this material to get it to match in to what we want from the rest of the neck. Okay, so that's the kind of bulk of that roughed out. This job is one of those where you can't complete one bit without kind of getting stuck into the other. So with the kind of rough shape done here, my next step is I'll just take another gouge and I'm just going to start working down the material on the flanks here. I'll work those down on both sides until I'm somewhere near, and that will give me kind of a better idea of how much material I need to take out from here. So realistically, it's just a case of taking material out, having a look, see how close you are to where you want to be, and then taking a little bit more out. Okay, so that's kind of almost down to where we need it, but it's still very rough around the edges. So basically now it's just a case of getting in with whatever we can get onto it, basically. It is a little bit tight for space, but I'm thinking gouge and a carving file just to kind of clean the rest of this up. Probably card scraper would be a good shout in here as well. Okay, so that's the first one done. It still needs a little bit of sanding, a little bit of cleaning up, but for all intents and purposes, that's kind of where I need it to be. So we'll move our attention up to the headstock and see if we can get that one done. And to get the headstock done, it's very, very similar really to the other end. So again, we just need to mark it up and start removing the waste. As it happens, there isn't that much waste on this end, so it should go relatively quickly. Okay, so I'm a fair way into this now and it's coming together quite nicely, but it does occur to me that this is just looking a little bit clunky here. I think I've got a little bit too much material on this volute. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the Shinto and I'll just take the top of this off, get it down to a more suitable thickness, and then we'll start to kind of reprofile this and get it exactly how we want it. It didn't take much, and I think that does look a lot better. So I'll just get this marked up. I think what I'm also going to do is I'm going to put that kind of crescent shape on the back face of the volute, not the front face, and see if we can get something that looks a little bit nicer by doing it that way. Okay, and I think that's looking an awful lot better now. This headstock's a little bit wider than what I'd normally work on, so that has kind of affected it a little bit, but I think I've got a nice kind of transition now into that, and a nice little subtle volute as well. However, there is one just last little touch that I want to do on this volute, and that is just to undercut the back face of it a little bit. This is something I've started to do on my builds, and I just think it gives it a nice little delicate, subtle look to the back of there. It doesn't take a lot to do. You're not actually taking out that much material, so it's not going to affect the strength in any way, but it does just give it a nice little detail in there. Just give that a tickle up with a bit of 60 grit. And there's that kind of detail, just very roughly sanded in. There's a little bit of smoothing out work that needs to be done there. And there we have the transition into the headstock, which feels okay, but I'm going to have to kind of get this out of the clamps and have a feel of it just to make sure that I've taken enough material out there, but I think I have. So that is a couple of the last big jobs that we need to get out of the way before we can start to get this thing prepared and ready for some finish. But that is definitely a job for next time, so I'm going to leave this episode here. So as always, hit that like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.